Good afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how you can take charge of your fertility by creating a fertility plan. We go from being afraid of getting pregnant in our teens and early 20s to being afraid of not being able to get pregnant for when we're ready to start a family. Now, this shift happens very quickly and unexpectedly and can cause a lot of anxiety for both women and men. Now, I'm sure there's some young women out there thinking that they may not want to have children, and we are seeing an increase of women who choose not to. But the fact is, 85% of women in North America have had at least one child by the age of 44, suggesting you may change your mind. Now, it doesn't help that we're bombarded with all kinds of headlines suggesting that we can have children at any age. And the reality is that these are very misleading. They don't tell the full story because the truth is our fertility is in general decline. So here we see the general fertility rate, which is the number of births per 1,000 women. And it's lower than both world wars, the Great Depression, even any recent recession we've seen lately. It's the lowest in recorded history. We're witnessing only 62 births per 1,000 women. And this is happening globally. This is happening right across Western countries. We see that women are waiting until their late 20s and early 30s, and we know that women living in metropolitan cities are waiting even longer. So that's basically a decade later than our parents had theirs. But why is this happening? Well, we're busy. We're pursuing higher education. We're entering professional careers. We're waiting longer to settle down. We're indebted more. On average, we borrow 70 cents more per dollar than our parents did. And regardless of generation, sometimes life gets in the way. And I'm no different. I pursued a higher education, entered a professional career. I got married when I was 30, and then the unexpected happened. My husband was diagnosed with cancer, had to go through months of chemotherapy and even more months of recovery. Needless to say, our entire lives were put on hold, including starting a family. Now, I'm happy to say that he's doing fantastic and he's in remission, but during this time, I had to be proactive about my fertility because I didn't know when I'd be able to have children. And what I discovered and what I wanted to do is work with some of the best fertility doctors on the planet. So I reached out to them, and they taught me so much so that I felt compelled to share what I had learned by starting a company called Fertility. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit with you today. So we're born with all of our eggs. And I'm going to level with you, ladies. Age matters when it comes to our fertility. Now, the two things that I really took away from this was how quickly those number of eggs we have decrease after the age of 30. And not only just that, but the quality of our eggs. Because it doesn't really matter how many eggs we have. If the quality isn't there, it's going to be very difficult to conceive. So what is it about aging that affects our fertility? Well, it's the mitochondrial function. So if you remember from biology class, the mitochondria is what creates energy for our cells. And it also creates reactive oxygen species. Now, those reactive oxygen species, when they build up in our cells, can cause point mutations in our mitochondrial DNA. And those point mutations can propagate, reduce the effect of the mitochondria, and create more ROS, contributing to the downward spiral. We also know that there are contributing factors in the environment that can overproduce ROS, like cigarette smoke, pollution from fossil fuel burning, alcohol consumption, and poor diet. So we've all been exposed to these ROS accelerating agents through the diet we eat and the air we breathe. So just to give you a better idea, on the left here I have a mouse ovary that's been exposed to, that's a normal mouse ovary, and you can see the red stain is just a little bit of ROS activity. That's normal, you're expected to see that. On the right, it's been exposed to all sorts of toxins, and we see too much ROS being created in that ovary, as well as dying cells and egg cells in particular. And just to further iterate just how important the mitochondria is to female fertility, The female egg cells have orders of magnitude more mitochondria than any other cell in the body. 120 times more than the second most energy-intensive cell, which is heart muscle cells. So just think, our hearts are constantly beating day in and day out, and egg cells have 120 more times mitochondria. That's just how much energy it takes to create life. So there's this myth out there that this is a women's issue, that this is something that women need to be taking responsibility for. But the truth is that a third of the time it's a female factor in fertility, a third of the time it's a male, and a third of the time it's both or unexplained. So gentlemen, this is where I want you to pay attention, because sperm concentration has declined 60% since the early 70s on average. That's to say a young man in his 20s, 50 years ago, had more sperm than a young man the same age today. Now, the medical community is not entirely sure as to why this is happening, but they suspect that it has to do with those ROS agents that we just spoke about. And this is particularly important because not only do you need a good quality egg and good quality sperm to be able to conceive, but it also plays a factor in your baby's future health. So this was something that had me very anxious and very nervous, and this is why I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to be proactive. Now there's two factors that I came across. There's the medical space and there's also the lifestyle space. And I'm going to start with the medical and circle back to lifestyle because there's been a lot of really exciting research that's come out of that. And this is just a quick overview as to what I'm going to discuss over the next few slides. So the first thing you want to do in your fertility plan is get a better sense of your overall health and your sexual health and your partner's sexual health. So just understand what your overall health looks like. Ladies, I really strongly recommend, regardless of what your age is, to go get your ovarian reserve measured. This is going to take into account your age, 2 hormones that's done by blood work called AMH and FSH, and your follicular count, which is done by ultrasound. I had mine done at the age of 30, and I'm so glad I did because it helped me figure out what my fertility plan was going to be. Semen analysis for men, this is going to do your concentration, your morphology, and your motility. Now, my husband also had his done when we were trying to figure out what our plan was going to be. This is just a quick overview as to all of the different types of technologies that are available to you if you so need to get any kind of medical assistance in your fertility journey. I like to stress, though, that none of these come with guarantees. They can be very costly and emotionally draining and stressful. And so let's just better understand what the success rate of these technologies are. So here we have the primary outcome of cycle retrievals for frozen embryos, frozen eggs, and fresh eggs. And we see that your best case scenario, if you're in your 30s, is a 38% chance of success. The other thing I really want you guys to take away from this is just, regardless of what type of egg you may have or embryo, age still plays a factor in this. So the lifestyle aspect I'm most excited about because you can do right now, first of all. Secondly, it doesn't matter if you're trying to conceive naturally or if you're needing help with assisted reproductive technology or if you're wanting to be proactive like I was. So we already understand the benefits of eating well. Maintaining a healthy weight is particularly important to your fertility because being overweight or underweight can affect your hormones. Exercise and stress management are also really important, and we're seeing a lot of research in that space coming out as well. But what got me most excited was the supplement space and the research that was coming out in this area because it's something that we can, again, do right now. So vitamin D, great for hormone balance and can help with the expression of AMH. Methylfolate is great for fetal development and is just a superior form of folic acid. I'm going to skip over to sperm health because there's a lot of supplements that gentlemen can take to better help their sperm. But where I really want to focus that affects both men and women is mitochondrial health. And this is going to be with CoQ10 and resveratrol. So here we see a young mouse, an old mouse, and an old mouse with, that's been supplemented with CoQ10. What I thought was really exciting about this study was just to see how the old mouse ovary looked like it had rejuvenated. It looked very similar to the young mouse. But not only that, it also is acting a lot like the young mouse ovary. And so the litter size and the mitochondrial function, just by taking CoQ10, helped the response for the older mouse. Now here we also have a normal human follicle, one that's been exposed to all kinds of toxins that we just discussed. And then the final one has been exposed to those same toxins, but given resveratrol. And what we see is that resveratrol was able to neutralize those toxins. Again, something else that we can do right now to support our fertility. And I'm so glad I did, because by taking into consideration what my ovarian reserve was, alongside with a healthy lifestyle, with the right supplementation, I am so happy to say that I am a proud new mom to a 2-month-old baby, and I feel really passionate about this because I think that we could all very well learn about our fertility, not be afraid of it, and not compromise our goals or our aspirations, and not be afraid to not be able to have children for whenever we're ready. I want to give Dr. Robert Casper and Dr. Rolando Cepeda and their teams a big thank you for all of their research contribution, and I want to thank all of you. Thank you.